Go ahead and call this the Cookeville City Council regular meeting to order, April 4th, 2013. The mayor's not here, so I'll be presiding over the meeting. If we could go ahead and have a roll call, please.
Councilman Anderson.
Present.
Councilman Woodford.
Present.
Mayor Swallows. Vice Mayor Epps.
Here.
Councilman Albright.
Here.
4 present, 1 absent.
Okay. I'd invite everybody to stand for a moment of silent prayer and our Pledge of Allegiance, please. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on our agenda is just to approve our agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have any additions, deletions?
No changes.
Okay, if no changes, then all vote.
4 yes votes, motion carries.
Okay, on to old business. Item 2 was just to consider the approval of our previous meeting held on March 21st, 2013. And I'll need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
We have any questions on that? Okay, and so all vote.
4 yes votes, motion carries.
Motion passes. We're on to our consent agenda. This is items 3 through 7. Item 3 is to set a date, which would be May 2nd, 2013, for a public hearing on ordinance 01-0130406 relating to bus shelters and bus stops. Item 4 is to set a date again for May 2nd, 2013, for ordinance 01-30407. And this is rezoning 225 Kenway Street from RS10 to CL. Item 5 is set a date 5/2/13 for a public hearing on ordinance 01-30408. This is the redevelopment area overlay district for the 319 West 7th Street. Item 6 is awarding bids for portable radios. That's going to come to us from the police and fire departments. And item 7 is awarding bids for uniforms for public works departments. Am I okay with the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Do we have any questions with that so far? Okay. Since no questions, let's all vote.
4 yes votes, motion carries.
All right, on to new business. Item 8. This is to consider reappointment to the Cookeville Historic Zoning Commission. This is sponsored by Mr. James Mills.
Mr. Vice Mayor and council members, almost term for service on the Historic Zoning Commission will expire this month, and Ms. Anderson's graciously agreed to continue to serve on our Historic Zoning Commission. We would recommend for her reappointment.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have any discussion?
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm glad to serve.
All right. No, if there's no discussion, let's all vote.
Oh, and I'm just recusing myself.
3 yes votes, motion carries.
I did.
I didn't vote because I didn't think it was right to vote.
Oh, okay.
Should I vote for myself?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, what
Yeah.
the heck. I voted for myself
All
last
right.
time.
4 yes votes, motion carries.
Unanimous. All right. Item 9, consider appointments to the Architectural Design Review Board. This is also being brought to us by Mr. James Mills.
Mr. Vice Mayor and council members, our Architectural Design Review Board consists of 5 members, 2 of which are representatives of the Planning Commission, and then we have 3 citizen at-large members. The members of the board are appointed by the City Council. They serve 3-year terms with the exception of the Planning Commission members whose terms run concurrently with their service on the Planning Commission. Due to the resignation of Aaron Bernhardt from the Planning Commission, who was also one of our Planning Commission representatives on the Architectural Design Review Board, we have a vacancy. Kay Starkweather was recently appointed to the Planning Commission, and she currently serves on the Architectural Design Review Board. So we would recommend her appointment as a Planning Commission representative on the Architectural Design Review Board. With her appointment we have a vacancy with a citizen-at-large position on Architectural Design Review Board, and Mrs. Jennifer Williams has agreed to serve in that position, and we would recommend for her appointment.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve that appointment?
So moved.
Second.
Any further nominations or discussions or any of that sort?
I know Jennifer's looking forward to serving on this board, and of course we always appreciate people who do serve for us.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have people in the city of Cookeville stepping up that are quality people and doing quality work for us on a volunteer basis. Appreciate that a lot.
Anything else, council members? Okay, then I'll vote.
4 yes votes, motion carries.
Well, and I didn't mention Kay, but we appreciate her serving
Yes,
also
we
too.
do. And she knows the term of service for this.
Yes.
right?
Despite the
So
fact that
she's-
we've snuck in her on the term, okay. Ding. Item 10. So this is, we're going to consider declaring as surplus city-owned property. It's at 215 West 7th Street. Again, this is sponsored by Mr. James Mills.
Mr. Vice Mayor and council members, the location of the property is depicted on the screen. It's identified as parcel 9 on tax map 40 Group D, and according to our deed to the property, it consists of a lot 50 feet in width and 98 feet in depth, or approximately 4,900 square feet. It was acquired by the city in 2001 in anticipation of improvements to West 7th Street. Here's an aerial view of the property. This request was submitted by Jim Cobb, the interim director of projects on behalf of Tennessee Tech, and according to the request, this property is located in an area identified in the university's 2010 master plan as Area 1 of the campus acquisition plan. So it's within this area right here is Area 1. The university intends to construct a new laboratory science building in the large commuter lot north of the Capitol Quad Residence Hall, which will result in the loss of approximately 500 parking spaces, which is this area right in here. The university would like to acquire the city-owned property and other contiguous parcels for the purpose of constructing a new parking area to offset the loss of parking resulting from the construction of the new science building. The applicable city departments have reviewed the surplus property request and no opposition has been indicated. The Public Works Department indicates that an area of the lot involving a depth of approximately 12.5 feet off of West 7th Street should be retained as right-of-way for West 7th Street. It was utilized when we did the completion or the improvements to West 7th. This reduces the lot size to approximately 4,272 square feet. The Planning Commission is recommending for approval of declaration of surplus property, the city-owned property we just mentioned, and for the acquisition of the property by Tennessee Tech with disbursement to be determined by the City Council. The Planning Department concurs with this recommendation with the retention of the portion of the property specified by the Public Works Department. So basically the line would be aligned with this line through here. And the aerial photograph is prior to the widening and improvements to 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that all, Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
Did those apartments create the drive-through there on that property, or was that created when we were doing 7th Street?
No, that's been there. It was created, I guess, as access to those apartments. There used to be a house located on this lot that was deteriorated, dilapidated, and basically, I guess it was condemned to what, Mr. Shipley?
Yeah, we basically told him, you can sell it to us or spend a bunch of money fixing it up, so we decided to sell it.
And so I was part of the drive to that, and it's been extended, I guess, just as convenience. The city didn't do that. I think probably the property owners there did that.
Someone put a drive.
James, did you discuss the price with Mr. Cobb?
Yeah, well, we mentioned what we had purchased the property for as what we believed to be a reasonable price, especially with us maintaining or retaining a small portion of this for right-of-way. We think that would cover whatever inflation would have happened. And I think the number was 25.
25,000 is what we paid for it, and if it was a private party, we would get an appraisal, and I mean, I think the property's worth a little more than that, but I think from our standpoint, we don't want to fleece the university and just get our money back for it. And
We looked at what, Mr. Shipley and I did, at what we had paid for properties in this area per square foot when we did the West 7th Street improvements, and it averaged out at $10 a square foot. And so this is significantly less, that amount is significantly less than what average we paid for property in that area here just in the last couple of years.
I concur. I think that's what we ought to do, is sell it to Tech for what we've got in it, and Tech pay the closing cost involved. In the long run, this is going to benefit the city.
Everybody.
Everybody, for the
This is,
improvement they're going to make.
Definitely. We've been partnering with Tennessee Tech now for a number of years. I'd like to continue to see this as a partnership, and it's certainly, as you said, Mr. Woodford, this is definitely a win-win for both of us. So I concur with that too, Mr. Shipley. Thank you.
We've been very fortunate to have Tennessee Tech here in the community, and they've been good to us also. So, yes.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I would suggest an amendment to that motion to set the price.
Okay. Would anybody like to make an amendment to the motion?
I will.
Okay.
So move. I'd like to, I've forgotten my Robert Rules of Order. I'm crazy tonight. I would like to amend the original motion by setting the price at $25,000 plus closing costs paid by the buyer.
A second.
Okay. I have a first and second. Any further discussion
On the
this amendment?
amendment.
No.
Okay, so we're going to vote. We're going to go ahead and vote on the amendment.
Right.
All who are in favor vote yes. If you're not in favor, vote no, and we can vote right now.
4 yes votes, motion carries.
Okay, the amendment passes. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to vote on the motion as amended. Does anybody want to? Do you have anything further you'd like to say or discuss about that?
Mr. Vice Mayor, we do have representatives from the university here. I don't know if y'all need to, Jim, do y'all need to address anything?
Looking good so far.
Doing good so far. Okay.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to make sure.
That's fine. No, thank you, Mr. Mills, and thank you for being here. I mean, appreciate that, because if we had any questions, we'd go, "Where are these guys from Tennessee Tech?" So we appreciate you coming. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go ahead and vote on the motion. Motion as amended. Vote yes or no, and we can vote now.
4 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, and last item on new business is item 11. It's consider authorizing the Water Department to incur additional costs on the contract for the upgrade and expansion of the water plant with city manager's approval. And this is sponsored by Mr. Ronnie Kelly.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor Epps. The water treatment plant project is starting to wind down. The project's getting ready to come to completion. And during this final phase, there may be a few small changes that need to be addressed in a short amount of time with council meeting twice a month. Some of these items come up and need to be addressed. And we do not want to delay the contractor by having to wait maybe 2 weeks. That could cost our ratepayers some money. So what I'm asking you tonight is to allow us to make some changes and approve some of those minor changes that may pop up in the last legs of this contract here, with city manager's blessing. Go with him up to $30,000, and hopefully we can minimize any cost to our ratepayers and get through the project. I passed the list out to you, I think, Monday. We've sort of got an updated version, and that's sort of the project, or a part of a few changes that we're going to make and would like to go ahead and make. We're still waiting on some prices, and some of those prices coming in, they'll be small, and what we're looking to be able to say, yes, we're good with that, go ahead and keep going.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kelly. Do I have a motion to approve item 11?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think this makes sense as we're getting towards the end of this project to make sure that there are no roadblocks
My bad.
Demerit.
Oh, you're going to have a
It's my son. He never calls me. It's like, what did he do? He never calls me. He's calling me right now. Pardon me, everybody. I'm sorry. Alma, please continue. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that I think it's a good idea to make sure that we have as smooth sailing as we can get through, so that there are no hold-ups. And honestly, I thought that was the timekeeper putting the time on me. I thought, oh, okay, now we've got time.
Maybe we need to start that with our council members. No, I would be the one that would be hurt by that.
No, I agree with Alma here that this is a good idea. There's no need for us, because we meet bi-monthly, to be a roadblock for the cash flow of getting this project done, because the ratepayers are going to benefit from the speeding up of this project.
No, I agree with both of them.
You know, I was the only person to have concerns about this, and my concern was primarily just with trying to put a cap on a single item, just so we didn't. But I went home and spent some time thinking about it, which is probably should have done at the beginning. And you reiterated with me, Mr. Kelly, that you said that these are things that our contractors buying.
Yes.
As contractors buying, that you are actually supervising and watching. You're a layer of accountability. And then we have another layer of accountability with our city manager. And then finally, if it goes over 30,000, then we have a layer of accountability with the city council. So I'm really big about accountability. And but once I noted, when I finally noted in my thick head that we've already got 2 layers of accountability plus a third, it's fine. And I guess I'm talking all this out right now because some folks that might be listening or reading about this might know that the layers of accountability are still there, and this will just help, as Mr. Woodford and Alma mentioned, this will help streamline this. So I'm cool with it now.
Yeah, these are small
Yeah.
portions of this project, but we just don't want to delay whole contractors
absolutely.
out.
Okay. Anything else, council members? Okay, if everybody's ready, vote yes or no, and vote now.
4 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, now we have, it says our agenda says hearing from officers, councilmen, and city manager, and then it leads directly into item 12, which is receive the city's financials for 7/1/12 through 2/28/13. Mr. Mike Davidson's got that for us.
Vice Mayor and council members, I do have a number of slides for you. I'll be as brief as I can in my comments, and stop me at any time if you have any questions. I would like to point out right now, first off, that as we move through these and we talk about the budget, these numbers that show the fiscal year 13 budget include any budget amendments that council has approved to date. So we've reflected those in these numbers as well. But I'll start with our general fund. Just to give you an idea, to date, this is through July 1, 2012 through February 28 of 2013. So the first 8 months of the year, we've received $16,988,000 in revenue to date. That's about 75% of what we budgeted. We budgeted $22,651,000 is the total revenue budget. We've made transfers as part of the budget between the different funds. Quality of Life Fund has transferred money to the General Fund, $6,700. There's still $100,000 to be transferred from Economic Development. That actually happened in March, but that's been transferred in March. We received $148,309 from Cookeville Regional Medical Center as part of the contribution for the improvements on 7th Street. The balance of their $650,000 contribution we actually received last fiscal year. So we did receive a total of $650,000 in total for that project from CRMC. So to date, like I said, $16,988,000 in revenue. And total expenditures to date, operating expenditures through the first 8 months of the year, $14,294,000. That's 66% of the operating budget, which is right in line with where we should be as a percent of the budget. Total capital expenditures to date for the departments in the general fund, $1,237,873. Again, the majority of the capital has been purchased for the various departments. There's still a few things that are being bid out, like the radios tonight, those things. So there are still a few items out there, but the majority of everything has been purchased to date, too. We have transferred funds to the Animal Control fund of $64,220, transfer to the tree board fund of $3,000. Recall part of the budget amendment and the business park and the economic development fund, we made that transfer $1,375,000 to the economic development fund. So total expenditures to date in the general fund, including capital and all the transfers, $16,974,000. Again, right now with the general fund, everything seems to be in line with what we anticipated, and with budget, there's no surprises yet anyway, and I'm not expecting anything in that fund at this point. So everything looks fine with the general fund. And that's pretty much the theme you'll hear throughout this presentation is everything seems to be pretty much in line with budget except for one fund, and I'll point all that out when we get there. State Street Aid Fund received to date $531,143 in revenue. We've only spent $102,704 in this fund to date. We do have a little bit more paving we're going to do in this fund, but not a lot. We have a big paving project coming up that's being designed right now with our STP funds. We're going to use some of the funds in State Street Aid to match that project, and that may not be done until late this summer, early fall. And so a lot of these funds we're going to hold over, build that fund balance up, and use those funds next fiscal year to match that grant that we've got, the STP fund. So we'll have about 10 or 11 miles worth of paving, Greg, something like that in that STP project. And we'll use funds out of State Street Aid Fund for that. So this fund, again, is right in line with budget, except we're going to try to save a little bit more money this year and use it next fiscal year. Next fund is Solid Waste Fund. We've received to date $970,204. We've expended to date, including capital purchases, $1,259,320. That's right in line with budget. At the beginning of the year, we had budgeted a deficit for this fund of $254,000. That was to buy some capital equipment, a sanitation truck. So that's right in line with what we had planned on doing. So there's no real surprises there either. I'm just going to keep going. You stop me at any time. Our drug fund, we've got $51,455 in revenue. Most of that's confiscated property that the police department has confiscated and received. They've spent $31,947 in this fund to date. Our animal control fund, we've received $131,407 in various revenue, which is contributions from the county, Monterey, and we still have some funds there from Allgood and Baxter to receive. But to date, $131,407, $47,000 for adoption fees, various fees and things they charge at the shelter. We've received $15,233 in donations and fundraising events and things like that. So just to put in a plug in for the animal shelter, any donations that we can get to help operate that shelter, we're looking for that. The city transferred $64,220 to that fund as well. So there's a total of $195,627 to date to operate the shelter. We've spent $152,270 total. Again, the operating expenditures are right around 67% of their budget, so it's pretty much in line with what we had budgeted. Our Economic Development Fund, again, this is where we've been accounting for the business park. And to date, we've got $2,304,621 in revenue. A little over $2 million of that is the county's contribution for the work that's been done out there. We also have the $1,375,000 transfer from the general fund in there. Our fund balance at the beginning of the year turned out to be $2,824,000. That gave us total available funds in this fund $6,504,000. And to date, we spent $4,013,000 out of the Economic Development Fund. By the end of this fiscal year, just to point out, by the time we finish with what we have budgeted for the business park and everything's been approved to date, this fund balance will end up being somewhere around $140,000 at the end of the fiscal year, which is what we've discussed the last few weeks. But again, based on everything we've talked about the last few weeks, that right now is right in line with what we thought. Quality of Life Fund. This is where we've been accounting for our Rails with Trails project. And to date, we've got $100,660 in revenue. We've only spent $50,185 so far to date. Our hope is that sometime this calendar year that we'll start construction on the first leg of that Rails with Trails project. And the first phase is from the Cookeville Depot to the Allgood Senior Citizen Center, the ball fields in Allgood. And if everything goes well, and hopefully we'll start construction at some point this calendar year, late summer, early fall. Our general obligation debt service fund, where we pay account for all of our debt obligations. To date, we've received $2,365,000 in revenue. We've only expended $790,838. The majority of our debt payments, or the principal payments, are made in May. So this fund you'll see the jump in expenditures there on our variable rate debt, which is, again, those payments are made in May. Just to point out our variable rate that we've been paying on the interest rates on those variable rate debt is less than 1%. It's been that way for several years now. So at the end of the year, I expect we'll add some dollars to our fund balance in the debt service fund. Jumping over to the utilities, Water Quality Control has received $9,517,799 in revenue. That is 69% of their budget at this point, which is right in line with Mr. Kelly's estimates. Expenditures to date in that fund, total operating expenditures $6,847,298. They paid $604,000 in their principal and some debt, $241,017 roughly in interest and other non-operating expenses. Capital expenses to date for water quality control $4,370,961. So total expenditures in that fund $12,063,276. And so again, everything's pretty much in line with exactly what was anticipated for the water department. The electric department has received $37,237,738 in revenue, and they've expended $37,460,946. Again, no surprises in that fund either. And the gas department has total revenue to date through February $6,377,102, which is pretty much right in line with what we'd estimated. The expenses a little bit more than we had thought. Gas prices have moved up a little bit from when they change every day, but back at budget time, what we had budgeted and based everything on, they have gone up quite a bit, but we have that accounted for in our purchase gas adjustment. So bottom line, there's no real surprises here. Total operating expenses $6,139,074, $400,000 in debt service payments, $23,000 in interest, and so far to date we spent $245,322 in capital. So total expenditures $6,807,483. But again, it's right in line with everything we had expected for the gas fund. The only fund that has me concerned is what I mentioned to you. In our work session on Monday is our employee insurance fund. The claims they're much more than we had anticipated and budgeted. Just to point out the revenue, which is made up of premiums that are paid by the city. We're self-funded. The premiums are paid by the city and the employees, as well as our retirees. So all three groups put money into our employee health insurance fund, and then those funds are used to pay claims. And to date, through the end of February, $2,284,000 in the premiums, essentially, and claims and expenses and premiums to date $2,007,000. So right now, just looking ahead for the entire fiscal year, we had budgeted a deficit in this fund at the beginning of the year of right around $200,000. It's $191,000 deficit is what we'd budgeted. So we'd anticipated taking money out of the fund balance, but right now I'm estimating we may take out as much as $700,000 out of that fund balance. Now, at the beginning of the year, that fund balance was $4,200,000, so it's going to drop to $3.5 million. And if the trend we've seen so far through the end of March now, in our health claims continues, and that's what I budgeted on for April, May, and June now, and change these numbers, then we will take that $700,000 out of fund balance. And I'm still working with Blue Cross Blue Shield, looking through reports, just trying to see if I can figure out if there's any one thing or things that are driving this, but I haven't been able to put my finger on anything yet, other than just our employees are, sick and utilizing the health plan right now. So we'll keep an eye on it. We have our health and fitness committee together today just to talk about this and just to start trying to figure out what we got to do, thinking ahead for our 2014 plan year, and if there's any changes that may or may not have to be made regarding premiums or benefits or whatever it may be. So we're starting to look at it and try to make some plans and try to get an idea of how to get a handle on it. This is 2010, just to point out, 2010 was the highest claims year that we had. That was around 3.2 million, I think. This year it's looking like it's going to be around 3.6 to 3.7 million. So, but that's all I have for you. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to be quiet.
Good news is you're on target and there's no surprises to speak of other than the health care.
Other than the health fund, that's the only one, yes. Yep, that is.
And that's hard to determine. I mean, you know, when people get sick, they get sick. And in 2012 and 13, when you get sick, it's no cheap matter.
No, and our claims, like I said, 2010 was their most expensive year we've had. In 2011, claims came down. 2012, they came down even more.
Yeah.
But this year, they've shot up quite a bit.
Well, it's to be seen what the cause is. I mean, the health wellness committee is going to be working on that. I look forward to seeing what figuring out what that is. It could be lots of things. I mean, maybe it could be a silver lining in that if indeed, since we started some health and wellness things going on, we may have, just because of that, we've had more of our employees enter into the health system and making claims, and hopefully it's preventive care claims. Yeah. Although I'm a little concerned about inpatient days going up, but if that's a preventive incurring costs with preventative health, that may come back to be a silver lining. So I'll keep my fingers crossed and see. But I'm encouraged to hear that the health and wellness committee is on that, and I'd be want to hear from them.
Yeah, we'll keep you up to date as we get more information.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council members, for Mr. Davidson's? Okay, then the last part of the meeting is the portion where we give everybody a chance to speak their mind. It's where we can hear from various citizens and or their delegations. All we ask is you come up and state your name and keep your comments to around 3 minutes or so. Kathy will let you know. Anybody wants the opportunity to do that, they can do so now.
I wanted to make sure that everybody knew about Dogapalooza this Saturday at Dogwood Park, and I think it's 1 to 4, and it should be a fun time. Last year there were a lot of people there and a lot of dogs, and it looks like the forecast says the weather's going to be nice. So 1 to 4 at Dogwood Park, Dogapalooza. Bring your dog, bring your children, have a good time.
Can you bring a cat if you wanted to?
I don't know that I would bring a cat. You might try.
You're a runner. You can keep up.
Yeah.
My cat's my dog. Any other council members? Anything else?
No.
Okay. This meeting's adjourned.